how much effort you make to win that UFC heavyweight belt the first time, and then go back and do it again?
It was a lot, especially because that's one thing that everything ever bad happened to me. Actually, it's funny. I always look at it as a blessing. I just said it the other day. I was like, oh, I'm glad I broke my neck. It actually made me so much smarter at fighting. You know, I really broke some things down that I was just kind of intuitively doing, but didn't really understand. Now, there's not a move that I do that I can't explain to you which way my eyeballs are facing and why. And not that I'm correct, I could adjust, but there's not anything I do arbitrarily. There's a reason for every breath I take and movement I step in, right? That happened after I injured my neck. But even before that, when I broke my leg in the car wreck and lost the title, I was super talented at fighting because of my athletic ability, helped out. All of a sudden, when that got taken away, I really had to learn. That was another big bump in my really learning. That's when I started commentating and people could hear me talking. I really broke down what I was doing. At that point, I could just do, I could watch it once and look and go, I got that. But then teaching it to other people, I was a horrible instructor. Awful. My wife, I actually burnt her out the first time she tried to learn from me because I'm like, just put your hand here and end up on top. How hard is that, you know? Because I could do it, you know? But then I didn't understand how other people couldn't. I'm like, why is it so hard, man? Just do this. So that injury turned into a blessing that I became much a better instructor because I lost my ability to be a great athlete for a while. It took time to gain that back. And then now with the neck injury, man, it really broke down the science of how I approach. I am really obsessed with the art of it, of understanding. I break things down critically thinking. I'm like, why do I do this? You know, well, how come I don't jab towards the throat? Why not? Is there a reason why we don't? You know, just the most arbitrary things that we do. It's like, I don't want to just do it as a robot because we think we do it. I break down everything. It's like, wait a minute, why are we doing this here? You know, and I think that's so a lot of times our hardships in life can really turn and focus and become some of our moments that springboard us forward.
I don't know anybody that's super, super successful that didn't have some difficult times. And you just touched on that. Everybody that I know that's very, very successful at something had some difficult moments. And some people, in similar circumstances, they say, I can't be successful because this bad thing happened. And there's a lot of other people that are just like, well, this bad thing happened and it made it even more important for me that I got to go be successful. And everybody here had some moment about something, use that for fuel on occasion. Use that, some of the base or petty things in your personality, use that for fuel on occasion. This isn't a pleasant thought, but if you don't hate some of your current circumstances, you're probably not going to work hard enough to change it. I just hate the idea of, I'm 45, I'll be dead soon enough. I just hate the idea of not doing the best I could at things. And I don't want to lie to myself about it. And that's what most people do. Other people don't like that idea either. But they don't actually do the work because it's I'm doing more than most people. Most people? That's your comparative others. When I wanted to go through that belt system, ask Jake about this. When I wanted to go through the belt system, I didn't have a blue belt yet. I was going to get my blue belt soon. And I told Jake, all right, blue belt, what do I got to do to get a new belt every year? And he thought that was ridiculous. He's like, that's not going to happen. That's totally unrealistic. Nobody does that. And I was like, look, you can tell me anything, but you can't tell me a time constraint. Tell me what the skill level is. And if I don't meet that skill level, I don't want anything that I should have higher level than that skill level. That's why I got a brown belt. And Frank says, well, you're better than most black belts. It's like, I need to have a higher skill level than somebody else would because it's going to be scrutinized because it's so fast. Other people don't move that fast. So that's fine. And I said that to Jake the whole time. It's like, bro, I don't want something I don't deserve. So I don't need a black belt. I need the skill set that goes with the black belt. But we're moving towards the black belt. And he said, it's unrealistic, blah, blah. I said, tell me the skill set. And it's my responsibility to go get the training and do the work to earn that spot. And if I don't earn that spot, then I don't. We'll keep working. It'll take longer. But I think I could do it 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. And I made a list. I asked you to help me make a list. I asked Claudia. I asked 5 other people to help me make a list. I thought your list and Claudia's lists were very useful. I brought those to Jake. Jake's not the type of guy that's going to make a list. So I bring those to Jake. And I said, review this. Add anything you want. But give me, now maybe you can't do that from brown belt to black belt. But you can certainly do that from blue belt to purple belt, and you can mostly do that from purple belt to brown belt. Like, here's a list of things that have to be, and then some things are just experience and sensation, and everything has to be smooth and beautiful.
We're actually putting down and articulating what should I know or be able to defend against or be able to do for you to consider me a purple belt or a brown belt? What are the requirements? Put it down. I agree with that 100%. That's why you told me that thought. I was with Derek on that. I hated the idea of people going, well, it takes 15 years. I'm like, okay, well, that guy's training 2 hours a week. So I get why it took him 15 years. But if you're somebody who has access to training, I got my black belt in about 4 years. But I trained twice a day. I trained 2 hours in the morning with a coach. I lived at his house. I moved in the evening. I would have to teach classes at night. So I was training 4 to 5 hours a day, learning, 5-6 days a week. So people put in hours. I'm like, dude, it's frequency time. So when Derek said I'm going to do this, I'm like, you have access to the highest level trainers. You have athletic ability or intelligence, you're already good at one thing, so you know how to format it over, and you have the drive to do it. And because of your smart decision business-wise, you're able to have the time to be able to give yourself to go and do it. Some guys don't make a lot of money; they can't, so they got to spend 18 hours a day keeping the lights on. He doesn't, so there is no time constraint on that. That's why I didn't believe. I was like, nah, man, seriously, in 3 to 5 years, depending on your time, him being a black belt in 3 years, to me, is not, well, I was right. It's not far-fetched. And the thing he points out is true. I won't say someone's a black belt, like I don't want to put my mark on it, because then I know, then I don't want to be considered like, oh, you're prostituting yourself out. You just got paid for that. I'm like, no, roll the, come on. You don't believe me. You think, if anybody doubts where I think somewhere is with Derek, I'll be like, all right, train. Let's go here, roll. You can even start in side to a mountain. Go ahead and let's go. Let's see what happens. And then if they're either, well, because when you're dedicated, you love something, you're motivated, you have the means to do it, you choose to do it and get rid of the restraints, the sky's the limit.
When we did this with Gordon a week and a half ago, and I said, yeah, well, come with me and we'll see what happens. And he's like, all right, how do you want me to start? I said, do I get to pick how my opponent starts? Is that how fighting works? I get to pick, like, wherever you want. Gordon still me up. He's the best guy in the world ever. So but even with anybody, I'm not trying to dictate let's start here because I'm only good in that one spot or something. So let's do that. Like, no, I don't get to pick. It's like wherever you want, we'll start there. We'll figure it out. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It never hurt my feelings to I learned something new. It's like, what's the consequence if I do that with somebody and they get over on me? I'll be like, oh, I didn't know about that vulnerability. Let me fix that. Oh, I didn't know about this thing. Let me fix that. It doesn't hurt my feelings to be in that position. And it's like, all right, sweet. Like, if you were running a tech company, think of it like cybersecurity or something. Are you really going to be able to protect against everything always forever? Or it's useful if somebody, you would pay money. They offer rewards. Some of you guys know a lot more about tech shit than me. They offer rewards like, hey, if you can show us a vulnerability in our shit.
If you hack my system, I'll pay you.
Yeah, if you can hack my system and tell me how, I'll pay you for it. So I just think about it that way. I'll get got wherever, but it doesn't hurt. And Gordon's that type of person too. Humorous one, I think a lot of people don't understand this about him. And he didn't say this, it's just something that I've observed over time about his behavior. Is if you go train with somebody, he'll let them do whatever they want to do to him. And he might have to tap, but he just learned their best move. Go do that with everybody. It's like, and they can go around and say I made Gordon tap. Okay, but Gordon did that with 15 people that month, and the next month, and the next month. and it's like, oh, interesting. So he just learned the best stuff that anybody else is doing because they're trying to impress him or catch him somewhere. It don't hurt his feelings if he's going to tap somewhere, but he's tapping in training. Does he tap at competitions? Oh no, he doesn't lose the competitions. He wins all of them.
Yeah, I find that weird how people. I never understood this concept, and because of martial arts, I have that mindset. It's helped me be better, increase my ability, tap, and just now I know how to be better. I think people don't want to be exposed. She used to drive my wife nuts because she goes, you never lose arguments. That's not because I'm not wrong in an argument. It's because I don't hold to a sinking ship. If I'm having a discussion with Derek, we're talking, I'm like, oh, I think this way. He goes, well, hold on, what about this? That? I'm like, oh, You're right. I didn't think of it from that angle. So wait a minute. And then all of a sudden now it goes from me arguing with you to me like going, oh, actually, I realized I was wrong. Your concept or your idea is better than mine. Fucking teach it to me. Show me. I don't want to walk around with a subpar ability. You know what I mean? Like, you just made me better. So I don't see it like losing arguments. That's why I do martial arts. I'm not getting tapped. It's like, wait a minute. So if I don't roll with you and you don't do that to me, you didn't show it to me, I'm not going to learn how to defend it. So now I'm walking around with that weakness? Yeah. Well, that's stupid. I mean, if I'm bad at something, show me what I'm bad at so I can improve upon it. I want to be better. I don't want to like just be right, you know? Like I think that's the same mentality. People that argue like, I'm right. I'm like, well, no, actually here's a mistake and you made. And all the time, as soon as I'm talking to somebody, I sit there and go, oh, I'm wrong about this. I can see where this is going. It doesn't even become an argument anymore. I don't need to fight with you. You were right. I was wrong. Now I'm right too. Cool. I'm better now. It improved me. You know, it's that mindset and all things of putting your ego aside evolves you. If not, it makes you a coward. That's what Gordon has, that even with his ability in rank, he's not scared that someone, oh, I got tapped. It's like all high-level people know that doesn't mean shit. In the gym, we're practicing. You know, I get in a weird position. Tap, stop. I don't like how that feels. Hold on. You know what I mean? Like, where do we go in that position? Like, there's nobody watching. You're not going to get laid over that. You can't go and go, I tapped Gordon today. Your wife's not going to go, holy shit, me now. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's no money in it, you know? So it's like, it's practice, guys. So that's the same thing. So putting yourself in vulnerable positions and pushing yourself really pushes you and exposes you. And only other losers give it about, like, guess who I won an argument with, or guess who I caught. I'm like, you know, in the gym, no one's watching. How come he's a multiple-time world champion? I don't even know who you are. I can Wikipedia you right now, and your name's not in blue. You know what I mean? Like, probably means that you ain't. So, so that's why that's why I tell people when you roll, something they got to be careful when I'm training, because people see it as their Olympics. I'm like, oh, bro, this is your Olympic gold medal here right now. Right? This is your moment in life, is to be training with me on the mat. If you can catch something, I'm like, please just chill. You know what I mean? Let's just all get better or not get hurt.
Think about a few of those things overnight it's awfully hard to learn new things if you think you know everything. You have to be humble enough to be like, oh, what else could I do? What else could I do? What else could I do? And in my cockiest moments in life, 5 seconds later, I was back to the thought of like, all right, what else could I do? How could I do that better? What am I missing? What could I do better next time? And most everything good that happened in my life was like being persistent, doing things that were uncomfortable that other people wouldn't want to do, being patient for long periods of time. I don't give a about the new trendy thing. I don't care at all about in business, or I just don't care about what the new trendy thing is. The new trendy thing is almost always the new trendy thing. How's the metaverse going, guys? How are NFTs going, guys? How's your NFT portfolio? Is it up in the last few years? The new trendy thing is almost always, and if you're one of these poor suckers, which was most of humanity, that's super excited that you think the new thing is better than the thing that's been working for millions of years, or at least thousands of years, like, wow, like that's astonishing gullibility. Astonishing stupidity to believe that. Like, marvel at the gullibility and stupidity of the human mind. If you think the new thing is like, oh, we're not going to breathe oxygen anymore. There's this new, just what, fart scent. Fart scent. It's a new trendy thing. We're only going to sniff that. Sniff farts. It opens up your sinuses. Well, you go sniff farts. I'm just going to do what's been working. So, don't worry about the new trendy thing. Do worry about showing up and doing the few important things consistently. And building that web and building the map.
You watch this video all the way through, and that tells me you're dedicated to learning more and earning far above average outcomes in your life. Congratulations for that. But now it's time to take action. If you could have earned those results by yourself, you would have done it already. My head coach has opened up a few spots on his high-demand calendar for an in-person, one-on-one strategy session to help you. On this call, we'll give you the pragmatic advice that you can implement tonight to get laser-focused on the right metrics and leave mediocrity far behind in your past. Click that link right now in the description below and apply for your call immediately. Do it now.